I love the opportunities to go. I'm very competitive, so I like the opportunities to go to competitions. Part of the reason why I like coding, because you're always better than someone, but you're always worse than someone, and you can always look up to someone.
Tell us a little bit, if you would, about the history of the competition and what gave you the idea to get this started and so forth.
Yeah, so formerly I was at UAB and I started a programming contest there in 2005. It's still going on. UAB still hosts that. That's a pure programming contest. And then we wanted to do something in 2011 that still had a programming contest theme, but would be of interest to students of all ages. And we wanted to have a contest where all the children would be able to join. So in 2011, we started with maybe 30 or 40 students, mostly at that point from Tuscaloosa area. And then we grew to now, our contest next week will probably have 600 people there. This is the first time in 4 years that we've done this. So I'm a little nervous. It's kind of like a fresh start. All my volunteers are new. They've never seen the contest before, but we're really excited to get back at it. Sometime in early January is when we send a call out for volunteers, and we begin assembling the team and preparing contest problems and getting t-shirt designs ready, getting the problem sets done. And most of them are from the University of Alabama Computer Science Department, but we do have volunteers from many other places as well. We're kind of like a blue-collar version of a robotics contest, and we're actually kind of proud that we kept it that way to keep the cost down and allow the students from many different areas to participate. The students find out about 30 minutes before the contest starts what the problems are. So we kind of keep the problems really tightly controlled. It's not like you have 6 weeks to prepare, right? So you're allowed to bring your own computers, you bring your own robot. You just can't connect over the internet, so you can't communicate with a teacher or a parent. What's really exciting right now is one of our volunteers, she will be there as a judge this year, and I have a photo of handing her a trophy when she was in 4th grade back in like 2012, 2013. In our contest, you actually create something. You're not using a remote controller. Those are fun contests. They're very engaging and get students interested, but I want students to do more than just use a remote controller. I want them to actually build something and creatively and kind of own that intellectually, not just through some physical skill that they might have.
I've always loved computers. When I used to live in Alaska, my dad was IT, and then I moved to Alabama and I went to the Space and Rocket Center, and now I want to be a NASA computer engineer.
I was interested in this class because I've always loved messing with computers, as he said, and it just really captured my interest to be able to compete for it and maybe even earn something like a scholarship.
I decided to take it because I thought that it would be something fun to learn and it could potentially become a hobby of mine if I enjoyed it.
And we saw these coding bots that he had just gotten, and I asked about it, and he said, yeah, it's Girls Who Code, you can join if you want. And it's a lot of fun. I'm really glad that I did join.
But I've always been passionate about robotics, especially after our 101 course playing with the CodeBot. I had a lot of fun with it, and it made me decide to go further in understanding it.
And he told us about this competition coming up, so we just decided that it would be fun. So
a lot of motivation.
Yeah, a lot of motivation.
I like to program myself. I use many different languages like Python, C, C++. I like doing that in school, out of school, just to help me with moderately annoying tasks.
In elementary school, which I'm not 100% sure about Joe Best, but I went to Elvin Hill Elementary.
Yes, I did too.
Every Wednesday we had to do some coding, but it was like little kid coding, like
also bots.
Yes,
like that.
And which we also did that some of last year, but I just wasn't super interested in that because I liked more of Python code than like coloring and stuff.
For those, I was like, oh my goodness, coding is so hard. How could anyone like this? But now I'm actually really enjoying it.
Best is definitely competing.
Yeah, my favorite part is competing too. That's definitely the fun part. Maybe some of the practicing can get a bit tedious after we're 3 weeks into practicing. We have a competition in the next week or so.
I would say that for me, the best parts are getting to interact with my peers, like Joe Bess, and figuring new stuff out. When I'm coding and stuff, if I can't figure out the code or I just need a little push, usually one of my peers has a little push to give me. So
Or a huge push.
that has happened. That has happened before, and I like working with them because they just make the environment so much better, and they make it where I feel more comfortable being able to express it without anybody calling me things, because that's where
That's really hard.
that's where I get into my hard parts, where it's not necessarily coding is a hard part, but the kids around me making it hard, because they will say things like, oh, you're a nerd, or oh, that's weird that you do coding, but it's something that I enjoy, so I'm not going to quit because of their opinions.
Right now, we're working with this mat, and we have to try to make it go around the restaurant that the mat is. And this is the first time we've ever used the mat. So when we coded it to clean up the spill, we all got really excited. We got really loud too.
Yay! We did it! Okay, now I want to attempt something.
Like, it brings me a sense of joy because I know, hey, I did something right. Now the next step is to do this and this and this.
Your mistakes bring you to that big, like, joyful moment when you can finally get it and you understand what you need to do.
And it's a lot of fun. At first, it's really hard, which might be one of the worser points. That there's a pretty steep learning curve, but once you learn it, it becomes a lot of fun. It feels less like work.
That's like actually my robot. So like, it's nice to see him get used again after a little while.
So I'm trying to be an engineer, and one thing Cyber Patriots looks very good on a resume, and it helped me get into ASUD, which is a nice high school.
Yeah, I feel like things in this class could be really helpful in the real world, like securing a system. Maybe you could get like a job for that, or an internship maybe.
Makes a lot of money in the future too.
Something you hear a lot in our school is when we mention our Girls Who Code group, because sometimes we go on field trips and stuff just to show off what we can do. Especially from a lot of boys, you hear, why isn't there a Boys Who Code group? And I feel like that's what makes this group so important, is because
Woman empowerment.
yeah, it doesn't
And
matter.
We do have a second coding group that has all boys, but it's not as popular.
But they aren't Boys Who Code. Girls can join, but
We don't have any girls that do because we have this amazing experience, and they use like Autobots down here, and here we have like the microbits and codebots and that stuff.
I like that we have this group because women haven't always been able to have the opportunity that men have been able to have. So having our little group of Girls Who Code is showing that we can do that as well, and that we're still capable. And even though now it's changed a lot, it's still important to be able to show that like what the past was still wrong, and that still like society these days can be a little bit biased towards men and women. So having a background in coding and being able to do something you love without anybody judging you for your gender or
What you are.
or what you like to do or anything like that is really important because of the bias of the society.
And we deserve to have the same, or even probably even more. But yeah, so.
Kind of nervous. We still need to go over a lot of things.
We're trying. I think that we're pretty prepared, but it's good that we have like about a week left. We do still need to review some things and make sure all of our equipment is working.
I'm actually really nervous.
I feel like overall, everybody in our club is gonna go great places, and this is just another opportunity in the many opportunities we should have if we continue to pursue this career.
I love the opportunities to go. I'm very competitive, so I like the opportunities to go to competitions. Part of the reason why I like coding, because you're always better than someone, but you're always worse than someone, and you can always look up to someone.
Nervous, yes. Ready? I hope so. It hasn't happened in like 2-3 years, so I don't really know what to expect, but I'm excited for it.
Yes, I think we're ready for the tournament. We're finishing everything up right now, and I am very nervous for the tournament.
Like, oh, I don't know if I really want to do coding. It seems hard. I feel like everybody's gonna be like, oh, ooh, she codes or something like that, or ooh, she's a woman and she's coding. But we're now going to competitions that most girls wouldn't get the chance to go to.
We encourage you to give coding a try if you think it's something that even interests you in the slightest, because it can take you a long way.
It can. And just keep doing what you want to do.
So I was actually in robotics in high school. My computer science teacher came up to me and asked would I be interested in starting a robotics club when I was a junior in high school, and I jumped on the opportunity. I was the only female on the team for 2 years. We actually won nationals at First Robotics. And so I knew when I started teaching that was my goal eventually, was to get my kids doing robotics like I did, because I just absolutely loved it.
Our county purchased some equipment from Feria Labs, some microbit. Started asking some questions, and tech couldn't really help, so reached out to Feria Labs, and they were incredibly helpful. And so then I really kind of started getting into it, and they kind of extended that to the girls that I sponsor.
Basically, my first job out of college, I had a chance to work at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center for their space camp and robotics programs. Kind of was one of the founding members of their robotics program over there. And a lot of teaching, making software systems. So just kind of fell in love from there. Had a real fun time at the Rocket Center, but decided it was time for a change, and that's how I ended up at ACTE.
So I went to the Feria Labs training that they had with rural robotics, and then I've attended every training they've ever offered on how to teach robotics to kids, and I'm actually now a Feria Labs ambassador because I love it so much. And anytime I see training out there, if it's free, I jump on it. If it's not, I try to talk my kids and my teachers into helping pay for us to go get the training.
No, there was not any special training. I had no robotics experience, period. The tutorials that Feria Labs put together was kind of extremely helpful. And then again, when I started having problems with the CodeBot, I could reach out for support, and I was able to kind of get that. So a lot of what I've done is just self-taught.
It's our first year doing robotics properly here at ACTE, so we're keeping it kind of small, but it seems like some days half the school's interested because it's very hands-on. It's cool to get to see a thing move around. Who doesn't like robots?
So I really hope that this helps prepare them for any possibility of going into maybe mechanical engineering or going into robotics itself. It's just an option to open their eyes to other opportunities that are out there than what they've gotten with their regular classes so far.
I think for middle school, and in particular, the group I teach is Girls Who Code. So I have in particular just a group of girls, and so anything that makes them feel good and self-confident at that age is so critical when they can learn to add value outside of their appearance or outside of relationships. I think that those things are critical. A student I have actually at the University of Alabama now, she's in engineering, and she directly has told me that prior to that club, she was going to be a lawyer. And so, I definitely would love to see, one or two of them every year end up kind of pursuing it outside of high school.
The knowledge that sometimes it's okay if things don't go perfectly, because math, you always get the right answer. Science, same thing. Language, yeah, you always maybe get an A on the paper, but robotics, something's always going to go wrong, and more often than not, it's going to be catastrophic. But that's okay. That's how we learn.
Hey, are there any code-based competitions? When I saw that Alabama had restarted its program, I was like, hey, is this something that our CodeBots would work with? And David or Jerry was quick to us, absolutely, this would work. I knew that our strong suit was going to be the coding, the software stuff, and so when I saw that this were out, I thought, this would be a good fit for us.
But because Dr. Gray is on our board and very involved with their school, I saw that email from him, oh, it's awesome, we should definitely go down there, at least with one team. It's kind of last minute, but we're really excited about it.
Absolutely go for it. There's plenty of support there for you. It's not a lot required of you in the sense that it is something you can do as much or probably as little as you want to, and the students can kind of take it from there. But you're providing an outstanding opportunity for them.
Don't be scared. Your kids will know more than you, and that's okay. Just go with the flow and have a blast. It is so much fun doing this with these kids and learning with them.